Hello everybody, this is Serpent and welcome back to another series on my channel. I would like to announce, so in this one I'll be showing you how to, basically how to use Redstone and what the mechanics of Redstone are. So in general that will entail a whole bunch of examples and explanation, which will hopefully be very useful to you in your redstoning endeavors. But I think that's all there is to introduce, so let's get on just with the tutorial, with the explanations. Alright, so the first things I'm going to show you are powering and activation. So a button will power a block adjacent to it or beneath it, and in the case of the door, that will open it. In the case of the trapdoor, it will also open it. So when a block is directly powered, like this is by the button, it will also activate any blocks adjacent to it, such as this. This button powers this block, the block powers the door. However, this button up here is powering a block that is not directly adjacent to this door, and so the button does nothing. Moving on, there's redstone wire. You can place it, and it will carry a signal to a destination. So it'll connect to some blocks. You can see when you place it like this, it doesn't connect to anything. When you place it like this, it connects to the button. Now that can be useful for directing pulses, but I'll get into that later. So when a piece of redstone wire is powered, it will turn red, and it will power any blocks that are facing its inputs, directly connected to its outputs. And in this case, that's the door. It is connected to the end of this wire. And it can be powered from any side, or you can even power the block beneath it, as I'm doing here. This block is being powered, this redstone dust is being powered by the block. So when a redstone wire is connected to another, it will power the other with a signal strength 1 less than it. So that means that you can carry a signal over to an output like that. But what the signal strength means, I will get onto later. When you have a piece of wire and it's run into a block like this, or even when it's sitting on top of a block, the redstone wire will power that block, and the block will be directly powered and power any adjacent blocks, activate any adjacent blocks, except for redstone wire. So, for example, that does not work. So, a quick detour, you can also direct the wire and change how it interacts with the blocks adjacent to it. So you can see that this does not activate the door, but this does. And that's because I'm diverting the output. It's no longer connected to the door. When in its base state, the redstone wire will power all blocks adjacent to it, as you can see here. But then back to our main line. So, signal strength. This button does not power that door, but this button does power that door. And if we go over there, that is because this door is 1 block closer. So a signal of 15 is the maximum a wire can hold, and every block further than that the wire travels, the signal power drops by 1. After 15 blocks, the signal no longer powers any more wires. However, with a signal strength of 1, as you can see here, you can power a block, this door, or for example, this block. So if we press this button here, that door activates. This brings us on to the situation of the repeater. The repeater will A, delay your pulse, and B, rejuvenate the pulse. So you can see that that door activates. Likewise, this door activates. However, you can see that the repeater does have some delay. So if we set it to that, the door is delayed in its opening. Now, the repeater can take in a pulse from the back, and only the back, and it can output a pulse from the front and only the front. If I try and power the repeater from here, it does nothing. Likewise, if I try and use a door down here, it does nothing, because the output is from the front this way. I'm not sure what that was supposed to demonstrate. So, you can see that the that this here button does power the door. That's because the button is powering the block, is powering the redstone from beneath, is powering the door. But the input of a repeater is not on the bottom, so this does nothing. Likewise, the output of a redstone dust is either on the output, but it also powers the block beneath it, so this will power the door. But the repeater does not do that, so that does nothing. You can see the delay here. There is some. And you can also see that the repeaters do not connect to each other. This is useful for a lot of things, which I'll get to in a moment. But you can see that that works, while that does not. However, that does mean that the redstone dust can be useful for merging pulses or splitting pulses, and the repeater is less so. So repeaters and redstone dust will not connect, so the most efficient way of laying out a bunch of dust is either this way, which will activate any of these doors independently of any others, or this way, which uses the block powering, which uses powering blocks to power adjacent blocks to get the signal strength farther with the same number of repeaters and therefore the same delay. So the way this works here is button powers redstone, powers repeater, powers redstone, powers repeater, powers redstone, powers door, and none of the items will connect to each other. So that's the same for all of them, and it's not going to connect or interfere with any of them. This one is a little bit more different. Button powers redstone, powers block, powers repeater. Powers block, powers redstone, powers block, powers repeater, powers block, powers redstone, powers block, powers door. And that is using advantage of the mechanics we discussed earlier with the block being directly powered and therefore powering adjacent blocks. But that's about all I'm going to explain for today. Just wanted to get into some basics here before we move on, and next episode we'll probably be discussing a bit more along the lines of components. But until then, hopefully you enjoyed this episode, hopefully it was a little bit useful to you, and I will see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.